Hey fans, Farm Life. Hey, we're finally getting the solar panels installed up onto this shed roof. And if you're asking why am I putting two on one side and two on the other, well, this roof, this shed is basically north-south. I really should have had it built the opposite way, but I had some other issues with some doors and stuff, so this was the option. And I've been watching, we've had this built now for about a month and a half, and I noticed this is basically, this area right in here gets the most sun throughout the entire day. So in the morning we get sun mainly on this side, and then in the evening we get sun mainly on this side. So figured we'll just get try to get the whole sun, or get sun all day. So I got another panel to bring up here, and I'm hooking all these up in series. They're 100-watt panels, and so I'm hooking these up in series so I get 400 watts. And what I did just to install them, I left one panel open so you can kind of see. This is kind of a steep roof. This is what I call a 22-year-old roof, not a 58-year-old roof. Those kids can bounce. So old guys, not so much. Anyway, I got some little 1x3 pieces of wood and painted them black. Probably should have had these cut at about 50 inches, but they were 8 foot, so just cut them in half. The roof trusses are 24-inch on center, so everything worked out okay. I went and looked underneath. Everything's going into a truss. So and what I did is, you can probably see it's better over here, is I took a little PVC pipe and just cut in 1/2 inch, so this board is off the roof. I was wondering how I was gonna I didn't want water getting cooled up here, so I just put a little spacer under there, put a ton of caulking under there to fill the hole, fill that little 1/2 inch spacer. So I got 3 of these panels hooked up. I'm gonna bring the other panel hook it up, and then we'll screw them to these boards, and then we're going to run the wire right off the edge of the roof. No way I'm not looking over at the edge of the roof. So let me go ahead and put the camera down. I'll go bring up the last panel, we'll get it all hooked up, and then we'll come back. All right, fans, Farm Life. Okay, so I got them all screwed down. I might do something a little different with these screws. I might come back later and at least maybe on the outsides, maybe try to get some bolts or something to go under there, hold those in. I don't think that I would be able to hit the rafter with those. I don't think they are in the right position, but anyway, they're bolted down. I mean, I don't have everything set up. I don't have, an area in the shed yet for the batteries or the controller or any of that stuff. But I did want to show got these up. I'll get the lines ran at least into the shed. And like I said, these are all in series, so I think the negative to this one is hooked to the positive of this one. The negative of this one's hooked to the positive, negative. So I got a negative and a positive at the end over there. And I do have the wire. I'll probably get that wired in, at least get the wire inside, and maybe work on the rest of it this weekend. I got to build some kind of a setup for the battery and the fuses and all that stuff. So anyway, this is part one of hooking up the solar panels system to the shed. This is solar panels. Farm life out. All right, fans, farm life. Shaky here. All right. So we got the positive and negative cable hooked up, and I drilled a little hole right here. So I'm going to stuff both of these cables in here. Let's hope. Let's just stick the black one up there for right now. This can go down. And there's a little plate in there, which I thought I could get it to go down. Now to go in there and force it to go down. All right, I'm going to be right back. I just all right, fans, farm life. Guess we're just going to hook in these down here, and then kind of go over this way. I guess can't see that. Kind of go over this way. Put more one in right here. And then go over here, drill a hole somewhere over here, or maybe closer to down there. And then I'm not sure where we're going to have the controller, but it'll be somewhere down in here. I don't know if you can see that or not, somewhere down in there. So all I'm doing is just putting some cable ties in here to keep it looking somewhat neat. Anyway, that's where we're at. Like I said, I don't have anything else hooked up. I'm just going to get this wire hooked up and get it in the neighborhood, and then we'll get the other stuff hooked up maybe this weekend. Anyway, farm life out. Hey, fans, farm life. It's kind of dark in here. It's kind of why I'm trying to get this thing set up so I can get some lights in here. Anyway, got to the point now where I'm starting to hook things up. I've located the charge controller. Put it here. It's kind of up high, but it's straight so I can see it. I don't have to bend down, scratch down, scrunch in. So I'll be able to hit all the buttons, see everything, so that you know, I don't have to bend over or squint. That's up high. I've got my inverter right here. I'm making my cables. I've got my 2 cables to hook to the battery to put these 2 cables on to put them in parallel. So we got 12 volts, but we'll have 200 amp hours instead of just 100. I've got another switch or a circuit breaker. Let's come over. I got some stuff over here. I've got in this bag here, got some bus bars. Got a negative and a positive. I'm not sure I'm going to use the positive. Got a negative and a positive. Now I did see on, I was doing some reviews, and this bus bar is kind of a crappy one, but it's a shed. I'm going to be powering a couple of lights and maybe throw an outlet in here. So I think this will be fine for what I'm using. Now these are the cables that came with my inverter. These are probably 2 gauge or probably 6 gauge, or maybe even more, maybe even 8 gauge, because I'm using, so these might be 6 gauge because I'm using 4 gauge cable right there. So and the only reason I'm doing that is because this is the cable it came with, and this is a little bit thicker, so I'm just going to go a little extra. I'm going to be hooking up my power from here to the breaker, and that's a 60 amp breaker. And then I'm also going to be putting in this breaker here. Get it out of the box. This it's a 60 amp breaker. I'm going to stick it here. I'm going to have the positive solar cable come in here, come out here, and go to the charge controller. And I'm just using it basically as a switch, so I can turn off, if I want to work on anything, I can turn off the solar power without having to disconnect it. My charge controller is 60 amp, so I believe this 60 amp will do just fine. Like I said, I'm not going to be powering a lot of stuff in here. Probably could use even some smaller fuses. But for right now, I'm making some, doing the wires, putting the ends on, so forth, like this. I still got the heat shrink to do, so I thought I'd just take you along and show you how I'm doing this. It's like I said, it's dark in here, so we're going to go ahead and go outside, and we'll be there in a second. Alrighty, so what I've got here is some 2 gauge wire, and I got a clip. That's a 2 gauge end there. Now these crimpers, I don't know if you can see that, if it's focused in or not, but I've got it set at 4 gauge right now, because if I set it at 2, it doesn't crimp for some reason. So I'm just going to, and I marked where I want to cut the insulation off, and then we'll put the end on and we'll crimp it down, and we'll see if I can get this camera set up. I don't really have the right stuff here, but this might work. So I don't have a wire stripper big enough for this, so I just use these wire cutters, and that's where I want to strip it off at. So basically just roll these around and kind of press, put some pressure on them till you get to the wire, and you kind of feel it a little bit, and then looks like it's hard to tell, but I still got a little bit on this side, so just kind of go back and forth. There we go, and then comes right off, and then these go in like so. That's actually lines up pretty good. Oops, got one wire sticking out here. That lines up pretty good there. So then open up these crimpers, and I don't know if you can see that. We'll just kind of tilt up a little bit. There we go. I just kind of get it in, and if you can see, push the wire all the way into the ferrule here, and then I just push down like so, and then that crimps it in. That ain't coming out. So that's this one, and then we'll make the other end. We'll make a few more, and we'll come back. All right, fans, farm life. Well, I've discovered that these terminal bolts are not long enough for what I need. So I am kind of stopped right here because I need to put in these cables here to make this parallel system, and then I need to put I guess we here parallel system, and with this on there and then putting this on, the bolt is not long enough. Put this on there, that on there, that bolt is not long enough for both of those. So I need to get some longer bolts. So I'll be looking for that tomorrow, and then once I get those on, I've got my wire for the solar panel coming in. I put it in this little circuit breaker. I'm hoping this works. I just need a switch so that I can turn this off if I need to do anything to the system versus just unplugging them from the controller. So if that doesn't work, plan B will just plug them in, and then if I need to take it off, I'll just unscrew them. But I have all of my connections up. Got my controller wired here. I got my bus bar. I got my negative to the inverter. I got my positive into this fuse to the inverter. This is my main negative to the battery. So anyway, once I get those longer bolts, then I'll hook it up and see what we got. But till then, I'm kind of stopped right now. Anyway, farm life out. Hey fans, farm life up here on the shed roof. Had a little snafu. I hooked all these panels up into series, and I have about 80, it's like 72, 80 volts, somewhere in that area. I got us a high voltage error on the charge controller. Nothing's charging. Luckily, it's prevented anything from doing anything. So I did a little research, and for a 12 volt system, this has to be hooked up in parallel. So I've got my connectors. I got everything disconnected. Got my video on how to do it. And basically you take one of these like so, and you connect negative to negative, and you connect positive to positive. Oh, see, here we go, negative to negative. Your two negative ones, I think, go in there, and then your positives, and then you get them all hooked up, and then you should have one positive and one negative. So I'm going to hook them up this way, like this, and hopefully everything kind of leads out to that corner, so I have enough room to still hook up the solar cable to the charge controller. I left a lot of extra slack, so it's a good thing I did. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get the first one done, and maybe we'll come back and show getting the rest of them done. Alrighty, fans, farm life, we're almost there. So the way it looks like a jumbled mess here, but these two panels here, you connect the two positives to this Y connector, so you got a positive. You connect the two negatives, one negative there, one negative there, on this Y connector, you get a negative. Do it on the other two panels. So the two positives from that panel and this panel connected together, and the two negatives from these two panels connected like this. Then we're going to use these two to connect these two panels and those two panels, and we should at the end have these two left over. So we're going to go to the next step of the video, and I'll come back. Alright folks, so we've got all of the negatives connected to here, and we've got all of the positives connected to here. So I'm going to string this out over towards the end of the roof, and then try to hide some of these cables back underneath here so it doesn't look so sloppy. And then plug this into the cables, and I'll go plug it back in down there and see if I'm still getting that air. So anyway, we'll be back. Alrighty, fans, farm life, moment of truth. Got everything plugged back in. I'll go down the charge controller and see if we still got that air. Come right back. Okay, don't know if you can see. As you can tell, I got no light in here, so I'm kind of using this flashlight. As you can see, maybe in here, I don't know, this will be too, yeah, that's too bright. But might be able to see where it says it's got a moon on the solar panel. No charging. It looks like we are getting a load out of there though. Anyway, I'm going to turn this breaker on. This should power these up. Alright. And there we go. It's charging the battery. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it is charging the battery. Then we're going to go and see if we can see what we got here. 13.7 volts coming off of there, 6.7 amps, 13 volt battery. We're not using anything, so no amp hours, or no amps, no amp hours. Charging to the battery. Nothing going out to a load. 22 volts. I had on here before 87, 16, and no errors. Error 0. So that fixed the problem. So I'm going to go ahead and get something to plug into the inverter and see what other things we have coming on here. Alright, I'll be back. Alright, fans of farm life. Alright, I finally got the setup going, and finally had some sunny days. It's been cloudy ever since I got this thing hooked up. Finally had some sunny days. The batteries were just twirling at about 13.2, 13.3. But we are at, if you can see that or not, 14.3. Still on boost. Did have it at 14.4, but boost was still on. So we kicked down to here. It's getting late in the day. 15 volts on the solar panel, so I doubt we're going to charge much more. Got 1.4 amps. I think this is total since I've had this thing hooked up. At 14.3. No load. Got 99 amp hours into this battery since I hooked this up. Nothing going to load. It's 26 degrees in here, and no errors. So I'm going to do a little experiment tonight. I did this earlier this week when I had 13.3 volts on there. I ran this bulb, this light. It's a LED light. It's I think it's 8 watts, comparable to a 60 watt. The inverter also says 14.3 on there, and I do have it set on the, oh, now there we go. Now I got it set on the lithium battery. So we'll see how this, when I did this experiment earlier, it just dropped down from 13.3 to 13.2 all night. So I'm just going to run it tonight. It's 6:30. Sun's going to be setting here in about probably an hour. And then we'll just be running battery only. So if anyone can tell me if I'm doing this right or not. This fuse here is a 60 amp fuse from the inverter. It's a 1000 rated, it's 2000 peak, pure sine wave, eco-worthy. And this is basically a 60 amp circuit breaker as well, but I just use it as an on-off switch for the solar panel, so if I got to do anything, I can just turn it off and not have to unplug everything. So everything seems to be working, and so I'm just gonna do some experiment. I'm gonna get some a plug board in here and hook up some lights. I might get some, looking at getting some 12 volt like RV lights and stringing them up in the overhead. But I could also just run some electrical wiring, and because I want to put a light over here and a little switch, so when you come in you can just turn the switch on and got some lights. But the inverter will be running the whole time. So it's another thing that I want to check out too, because my other solar Harbor Freight system out there, running that inverter all day, even on sunny days, running that inverter all day, it discharged the battery down to low level, alarms going off. So I'm just going to do some experiments, see just what this light will draw, and see how low this battery will go just by running the inverter and maybe a little light. And it's getting winter time now, so the sun's not going to be setting as high. This shed is not facing correctly, so I really have two solar panels. If you're on top of the roof, I got two solar panels here and the two solar panels there, which I can get sun all day long, but only on the two panels. So anyways, this is experiment number 2, and we'll see how things go. Like right now, I'm at 14.4, 14.3 volts, so I don't know if I'm going to go any higher to get off of that boost. Like I said, it's been sunny all day, and got us up to here, so I'll check back in the morning and we'll see what it looks like. Farm life out. Hey fans, Farm Life. Did a little experiment last night. I turned this light on at 7:30 last night. Battery was reading 14.4, 14.3, and got up this morning, came back out here 12 hours later, and it was reading 13.2. So sun's coming out. I don't know if you can see this or not, but I'm back on bulk charging. Pretty sure that's what that says. Yeah, back on bulk charging. I finally got to boost charging, which basically the batteries were topped off. So got up this morning, it was 13.2. So we are charging right now. The sun's, like I said, the sun's coming out. We're at 13.4. I'm leaving the light on. I'm gonna leave this on all day and see what we get back. What we get back up to. It's supposed to be a nice sunny day today. Just this morning, we are getting 14.2 out of the solar. But like I said, the sun's just coming up, and getting 4.5 amps coming out of there. 2 amp hours coming in, and I reset that. It's finally getting something on there. So anyway, we're just gonna run that all day today. I want to see what this gets back up to while that light's going, the inverter's going. There's only 2 things going on here right now. So we'll see what we get up to during the day. Because then I want to do some experiments with just running the inverter all night, because I want to put in a light switch, and I want to run some power to the chicken coop in the greenhouse. I want to be able to just leave it all turned on and leave the inverter on all the time and see how much that runs the battery down. So Anyway, that's where we're at right now. We'll come back in a couple hours when the sun's fully out and see what we're doing on the charge control. Farm life out.